you're listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Welcome back to This Is a Work. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am here tonight to introduce your host, Robert the Distinguished Gentleman Brafford.
Thank you, David. Good to be back here in Kayfabe Outpost 1. Listeners will not know, but there are now 4 walls surrounding us. David is on the far side of a pane of glass, which means that I don't feel nearly as bad about all the spitting I usually do when I get excited. Unable to avoid any of that is my tag team partner, Chris, the Fashion Plate Barnes. And joining us, we are bringing back guests, folks. After me taking a little time to get comfortable here in the seat with Chris, we have brought in Ted, the proud Papa Patterson.
Oh, I'm a proud pawpaw.
You like how I glossed over letting me say something? That's gonna be a theme.
I didn't want the spitting thing to go stale. All right, so Chris, how are you doing?
Nah.
There we go.
The grand spectacle has returned. That's right. Us talking about wrestling.
Yes, so just illustrious descriptions, Chris. It's so beautiful. Your day is going how you like it.
It is good to be back here talking about wrestling. We were not able to record an episode for AEW Revolution due to scheduling issues. I actually was able to see that live.
I lost the schedule.
Yeah. Just stuff happened. It was a very busy March.
It was thoroughly busy.
But it was a good show, and I would have said a lot of nice things about it. But we've got a long show to talk about right now. We have a 2-night WrestleMania extra large.
But a good one. It was very, very good.
It was.
That after, because I only had started watching wrestling since I met Shelby back in like 2015. And the WrestleManias we have seen, the best are just few and far between, honestly, when you think about it, especially in the era that we are coming out of, which is like the slow disintegration of Vince McMahon and that whole,
to be honest,
toxicity, really.
Yeah, just 5 years of kind of major creative decline, and that was finally followed up with financial and legal decline, I would say. That we don't need to break down the whole lawsuit thing, but suffice to say, Vince McMahon has been shoved out of the door for the company, and they have bolted all possible entrances that he could get back in through.
Which we never thought we'd get to see. And just to finally see what that looks like. Granted, it is probably the darkest thing you're ever going to read, but to now see that we are in a Vince-less era of WWE, and if it is going to be what we had gotten just this past weekend, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I am excited to see what happens, especially after this show. But we get into talking about just the top-notch matches.
Yes.
Just absolutely beautiful.
Before we get into that real quick, I'm going to just plug my beverage for the weekend. Always try to pick out a themed liquor or cocktail. In this case, I found Huckstadter's Slow and Low Rockin' Rye. It is an old-fashioned drink back from when rye had medicinal purposes. It was cut with melted rock candy to sweeten it. This one has added orange bitter, so it is basically a pre-made old-fashioned. But whereas I normally am of pre-made cocktails, this one has been pretty good.
And we're not being paid to say that. We're just a fan.
I will take money if people send me money.
I would never say no.
Yeah, if Rock and Rye wants to kick a little money our way to promote them, I wouldn't say no.
So let's see. We are in Philadelphia for this WrestleMania, a 2-night event. This is, I think,
back in my day, they could do this in one.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, boy.
This is, I would say, the first time where I'm not going to say there were no matches that couldn't have been cut. Like, you could trim this down into a really good 5-hour show.
They at least this year did not try to make sure both nights fit a specific time block, because night 2 was shorter than night 1.
Yes, which I assumed we were going to have a main event in night 2 that went as long or longer as the night 1 main event, which, to my very pleasant surprise, one of many pleasant surprises in the main events, that turned out to not be the case.
I will say now, as a parent, I do appreciate the 2 nights, though, and going to
Yes.
bed at a
Oh, yeah.
reasonable time. I am a big fan of that. So I do remember when it was like the full day, before the pandemic.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But now with these extra responsibilities that I have, I gotta say, 2 nights is much more manageable and a lot more content that's easier to keep up with.
Oh no, I joke, but 2 nights is better. As much my continuing gripe with AEW is not quality, but the fact that they try to cram so much into one
Agreed.
show.
Which can work out sometimes, but I think especially with WrestleMania being made to be such an event, like it's a full weekend. You got your first night, your second night, different hosts and everything in between, 2 opening segments and all that. It just, and this year we had a card that lived up to that hugeness. Like
Yes,
this felt
we did.
like
We
did.
the biggest
By
American
necessity,
wrestling
as
show.
we recapped at the top of the show.
Yeah. So we start off this one with, you already mentioned the changes that we're seeing in the post-Vince era. A woman comes out to sing the national anthem, which it took me a little while to realize how weird that was until somebody pointed out they always opened with America the Beautiful
Vince
before.
never liked the national anthem. He didn't, and so he never had it sung.
Really?
At any of the events. that
Among
we
his many failings, Vince McMahon hated America.
Oh my god.
No. He just I mean, if I remember correctly, this is. I mean, honestly, I can't. This is one thing I can say I agree with. Like, he just didn't like. He thought it was too stodgy.
Which, honestly, fair. America the
for-
Beautiful,
yeah, it
good,
didn't-
good opening bit.
The man picked the strangest things to hate.
It did. No, that's absolutely true. The more you hear about it.
It's
the
just
national
list-
anthem and sneezing.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mean muscle spasming weakness?
No, my god.
If you could control your face, that wouldn't have happened.
You can't. That's the point of a sneeze.
That's an absolute monster.
So after the national anthem, Triple H comes out, gets the full Motorhead theme, time to play the game. Although, to the disappointment of everybody in the room, he does not do the water spray. He just comes in and takes a microphone.
Well,
we
yeah,
are
'cause-
in a post-COVID world. man.
Yes.
That's why he spews it into the air. It's safer.
That's just how it disperses and travels over the whole crowd.
we got corporate Hunter now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're speaking to Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. No. You were talking to Paul Triple H Levesque.
Oh yeah.
They've just kind of gone over into that.
That
all.
started over the past couple of
The
days.
veil has
I
been
believe-
lifted.
I think it officially started happening at Royal Rumble, where that's now how he is shown. He is no longer just Triple H.
I feel like with the Endeavor merger, the number of people who are like, I'm not referring to you as Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a press release.
I think that's 100%. He had
I think that is the mark of this new era. It's just like, okay, no, this is business now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for the first time, the top of the chain in WWE is not a McMahon. It's it is a board, it is a corporation, and there's a lot less tolerance for just, well, the guy at the top thinks this is a good idea, so we're going to stick with it for 6 years.
Right.
Let's see. So we open the show.
Cool.
First proper match is Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against the man Becky Lynch.
Such a great match.
Really is. Becky comes out with excerpts of her book, like written across her gear, which was, as
Hey.
cross promotion goes, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that over the course of this weekend.
And
so,
if I've worked in self-employment before, if I'm gonna plug my shit, I am gonna do it any way I can.
Plus, as a visual statement, it's amazing considering it's an autobiography about your life and you're out there
Yeah.
living it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool.
It
It's
is.
not a bad costume design.
Unfortunately, she was facing Rhea Ozzy Osbourne Ripley.
Yeah. Rhea Xena Wig
Oh
Ripley.
man,
yeah, no, Rhea comes
Which is
out.
appropriate. They're
was
both
in-
Australian.
it was incredible.
She gets her live entrance with it's a group called some like Marilyn Manson looking guy.
Yeah. It's one
Lucy
of Rhea-
Lawless is a New Zealander.
Oh, you're right. I was hoping nobody would check me on that.
Oh, you know who would?
Don't I?
Motionless in White was the band that, and so she actually got to like do a little bit singing or lip syncing, I guess, along with the lead vocalist.
I mean, hey, it's not the most outrageous looking metal band I've ever seen. Honestly, it's that. I mean,
That's always kind of neat, but I'm just sort of like, no, I don't want to see. I was like, I'm not here to see this.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always the kind of thing with bringing out the live band. with those kinds of entrances. I mean, they're fun, but I don't know. Some can be hit and miss, or hit or miss. Some hit and miss.
Jericho has been both over his time.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Seeing them and hearing it live, it sometimes you just get scared that it doesn't live up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I think for this kind of song, just like the raspy shouting of it just worked. That worked fine with like a yelling
That
into
works
a large
fine because
crowd.
you don't know what the lyrics are anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's her brutality, is my understanding.
Most of the time, I would go with just the already recorded studio version, just because you're right. Live music changes dramatically
Yeah.
from stuff you hear.
But it is cool to put a face to the voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's about the face I
it's,
would've-
Yeah, and it is appropriate for Rhea.
Yeah. So she comes down, and they do this thing that never stopped annoying me over the course of the show, where when they do the, in this corner of the challenger and introduce, where they film it with like a camera that gets a really like high def,
It is-
crisp image of the foreground, and then everything behind them is a big smeared blur.
So that's called depth of field.
And they use that a lot in like football games.
Yeah, I was gonna say I called it the what's the new video game called again? It's the new WWE game.
Oh, 2K24?
Yeah, I call it the 2K24 cam.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like in whenever they introduce the wrestlers
Also, I
in the
feel
video
like those
games.
are best served for things in motion, aren't they? Or
No.
really not?
Well,
No.
see, there was a moment when
Well,
they
it's
did
not
it on...
served for standing still. Let me tell.
No, those cameras were much higher end that they were using for those sort of intros than your average ring cam. The lenses that they had on those to get depth of field like that, I mean, they were flexing on the money they spent on it.
Oh
Maybe.
yeah, absolutely. Well, they kind of did use the same cameras at the last WrestleMania when they
Yeah.
were coming into the ring.
And honestly, I didn't mind that as much because when it's just like the entrance stage behind you, it's not as jarring to have that be a background. But when it's people and it just suddenly looks like it's a PlayStation 2 era wrestling crowd where it's just like kind of shapes and colors that move.
It was meant to be cinematic.
Yeah,
Well,
and,
it's
and see that's kind of where I'm like, well,
Yeah.
yes, that is correct. It's like it. I thought it was really cool. It's like, again, it's just something new. They're trying out new things, seeing like,
It was-
what does this look
it was
like? What does
cool,
this
but a
look
little
like?
disorienting. It just-
Oh,
It can, especially if it's like the first time you've seen it like that, you know?
Oh, the cinema nerd in me loved it. Loved every second.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm glad
It
they're
was
doing
really,
that.
really good.
I'm glad that they can try that now that they have
That they
other
can,
people now,
at all.
Yeah, now they have other people doing and in charge of that stuff.
Well, clearly, I am the only one here smart enough to fear and to distrust any new things that people try.
goodness.
So.
Oh my god. Oh
No,
my goodness. You need to open up your mind, my
It's-
friend. Say yes
It's a-
to new.
It's a feeling out.
The
moment.
old does
No.
nothing for you.
Also, apparently Becky was working with a 102-degree fever in this match. That
Oh,
she had like
God.
strep throat and just was sick as a dog.
It's that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened, but I feel like that fact is going to be like filed under like the Viggo Mortensen like broke his toe thing that you talk about whenever we talk about this match. Where it's just like you come in and then it's just somebody immediately pauses and goes, "Did you know?"
Well, here the other thing about that is like you can say that to me, it's gonna bounce off of me because I know for a fact you're not telling me that someone was gonna consider calling out sick on WrestleMania.
I know, like.
It's like, can't we just do like somebody attacks me backstage and then we'll have the match again tomorrow night?
It's
There's
like,
being an artist and then there's being a professional.
yeah. There's just that moment of, okay, it's still not down. Okay, so load me up on all this.
Yeah.
I'm going out there.
Extra layer of makeup to hide how like.
Peaked you are.
Hey, when haven't we?
I mean, I will say it probably helped because we were frequently reminded throughout the evening it was like 50 to 55 degrees, but it felt like it was in the 40s.
They made sure to drive home how cold it was.
This is Michael Cole with your AccuWeather weather
It
forecast
doesn't
in
even
Philly.
seem that cold for Philly, honestly.
I was that person to be like, oh, that sucks, as I like cozy into my
Oh, yeah.
blanket. Just
Only fools see live wrestling.
Was someone who decided that? Was someone mad that had to be out there, because the fact that they were hammering it home with a graphic, mind you. It wasn't just it wasn't just Michael Cole just throwing that out there. They made sure to put up a graphic whenever they wanted to talk about the
I
weather.
wonder if the crowd was a little muted, because there were a few matches where it didn't feel like they were getting much, and they kind of wanted to be like, it's not that they're bored, they're just cold, that's all.
It's just like, if we wanted to play around more with the video game cameras, could, like, once we see that little graphic, could we go into, like, Wii Golf? It's like, find that camera angle.
Which way is the wind blowing? What speed?
It's like, how do I have to have my arch? I don't know.
Well, overall, we're taking to get into it. The match itself was really good.
It was.
Really
fun. Rhea looks like a beast. I mean, just it's her using all of her power, and Becky's trying to just hit her with strikes and submissions to take her down. And you get the spot where Becky tries to lock in the armbar, and Rhea just powers her up into like a one-armed slam. It's just, oh man.
It was their match where, God, it's that one spot where she gets on her shoulders, and then they flip over the ring.
Oh yeah, and
the ringside, and they just get back into just doing like being on her shoulders.
Got her in the electric chair position. And
I was just like, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a certain amount of trust. And yeah, just great match across the board. Not a lot to say. It's just they work it, they tell the story, and
Rhea was not losing that belt.
Nah,
she was not. It's like Chris and I were talking about this in the car. It's like it's way too soon, and it's not going to be in that kind of way.
Well, she's had this was about day 370 of her reign, so she's had it since last year's WrestleMania when she beat Charlotte Flair. So she's had a pretty decent run with it. But I agree that she's so hot right now as a star that
it's not happening. It's
no.
not happening for a bit.
Nothing this soon. It's that, and we will get to it later. We're going to see more of the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
For a little bit longer.
And
we'll get there when we get there.
I'm curious as to how far they can keep her now, because she's in that space as a heel where the crowd just loves her too much that it's hard to tell that story.
We can talk about that tonight too, because I talked to Ted about that in the car. I have my idea of why things happened the way they did.
Yeah, and we'll get to that when we talk. Catch up with all the other Judgment Day boys and what they've been doing.
It was a good weekend for that crew.
Ugh.
For two of them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
ebb and flows.
Rhea goes over she gives a riptide onto the top turnbuckle and then just picks her up again and hits a second one for a 3 count. I gave it 4 1/4. Great match. Great way to start out.
It's a smart move. You bank an extra one just in case.
Yeah, I mean it is a standard match. Like you need to make sure that is your bottom line. That match.
So some people are saying that Becky might have some time off coming up ahead of her, which she's been working pretty solidly for somebody who's got a 2-year-old at home at this point.
Oh God.
So
I love my daughter. She makes it. She has been amazing. Just so, Lottie, if you're listening to this is your dad at 33. How about that? How's that sound? But she has made it very easy. But I have worked in the line of work of like children's entertainment for a while, and I can say there are some kids that aren't. And I mean, I don't know what kind of kid Becky and Seth's kid is, but if it's 2-year-old, it's a full day job.
Even the best behaved 2-year-old's a handful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially when you're, as I understand, the kids just coming with them on the road. Like a lot of it's been traveling.
Oh yeah. It's just like, and I'm sure he's a delight, and he's just a godsend from heaven. But
I think they have a daughter.
Oh, is it a daughter?
I think so.
I can't remember.
Well, then
it's Monday.
Then replace pronoun with other pronoun.
Right. I get that one pass.
Dad brain.
And that's it.
Yeah, some people are talking like it hasn't been confirmed that she's renewed a contract with them, so there's always that that stuff that floats out like, ooh,
I
could we see?
I feel like unless things go very south, she's pretty well set there.
Her and Seth are sort of in that list of just like I'm not
going anywhere.
I don't see AEW spending enough money just because it's like what you'd have to spend to get them away from WWE.
They're good for a while, and those two are almost certainly locks for Hall of Fame.
Oh, so. Yeah. And if they decide, like, actually, I just want a corporate gig, it's like, they're going to create, like, a role for them somewhere in that company.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not going anywhere.
The word is said, and they're easily producers for matches backstage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Seth's got his
Performance
own
center,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
like-
he's got his own gym and everything.
They can honestly pick what they want to do in that company post in ring work, and they'll let them have it. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
They're made men, as the saying
Yeah,
goes.
essentially, yeah.
So let's see. That's our opener. The next match we have is the 6-pack tag team ladder match
Yeah,
Oh,
chaos
man.
for the
Chaos
Raw
reigns.
and SmackDown tag titles.
Man, this one was wild.
Loved it.
was fun.
Running down the participants real quick, it's the Judgment Day
Purge,
defending
Yeah. Yeah.
DIY, who come out cosplaying GX, the Awesome Truth, Miz and R-Truth, the New Day, who come out as, it was Apollo Creed was Xavier, and I didn't recognize Kofi's. I think it's also
Pretty
from
sure
Rocky.
it was Rocky. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
was Rocky gear.
And then A-Town Down Under, which is Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. And finally, the New Catch Republic, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, who has his name back, and that's nice for him.
That's so good for him.
Yeah, a 12-man ladder match, 12-man ladder matches. Oh my gosh! As soon as I was looking at this one, I was like, how do I take notes without my fingers falling off for this one?
I mean, this one was just wacky.
Yeah.
Like it's especially with that ladder. Like we can get into like the finer details and setups, but like the thing that stood out for me the most in this match is just the ladder that like near broke on
Yeah.
Damian Priest.
Yeah, so you have this moment where he's going up the ladder, and you see one of the referees from the outside like reach out to like actually grab his ankle, trying to tell him something, and it's not quite clear what that was about until he gets up, and then Miz comes up the other side of the
And
ladder.
when you see,
That-
and
yeah.
when Miz goes up, then you see what the problem is. The right side, the one of the side legs on Miz's side, it buckled.
Yeah.
And so it just twists in. Thankfully, does not come down completely, and they're able to do their spot up there. But
It looked cartoonish, which worked. But it's that like you want to laugh, but then you're scared.
right. But Priest, to his credit, like once I think they brawled, Miz fell off, and he hopped down, tossed
Yeah.
that ladder out of the ring, and got a fresh one.
Oh, yeah.
But with the most like huffy, fine, I guess I have to do
It's
this.
like, ugh, I guess I'll have to return this and get a new one. Ugh.
But
But that was later on in the match.
yeah, that was a little far down. What was neat about this was you got 4 belts hanging over the ring, and they explicitly said both sets had to be retrieved for the match
Yes.
to end. So you could
And
win
any
one
team
set
could
of
win,
belts.
could either get both or any one set.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening. Is you had Grayson Waller make it to the top and pull down the SmackDown titles, and
That-
then we've got 10 minutes, I think, of match left after that.
I mean, how quickly they got it and how upset a lot of people got.
It was.
But I think I get it because I think they have been teasing. They've become real chummy with Logan Paul. And I think they're trying to maybe start some alliance or some sort with him.
That makes sense. And yeah.
And
Waller's
I mean,
such a
it's-
great heel. That
he
energy
is.
he's
And
got
these,
is
these
gonna,
are dudes that are just naturally good heels.
Yeah.
Plus, it's always good to have a heel team on top for a while for a good change.
Right. And it's just the energy of
And it-
heel
and
that
it
they
gives- yeah,
have.
and it gives that team a boost.
Yes. And
And
I'm,
he's like the smarmy assholes who have it, and he's like, you
It's-
want them to lose them so bad.
and it's not a bad team.
It's really not.
Cause like I always look back with like rose-colored glasses back in NXT with Austin Theory being a part of The Way with Johnny Gargano and Candice and everybody.
Candice LeRae, yeah.
Candice LeRae, yeah. I don't know why I said
Candace Owens,
Candice
very,
Owens.
very different.
Like I said, it's Monday. I am grateful to be awake. But he's also so naturally funny.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until being a part of that faction he really started to open up to that and bring it into the heel character that he would become. It's just he knows how to sell that kind of douchiness to where it's marketable and it's like relatable.
Well, it's similar to kind of like your Rocky Maivia situation where this guy, he's like built like a triathlete. He's handsome, but in this way that you're almost a little mad at him for looking like that.
He's handsomely off-putting.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know if he quite has Dwayne Johnson's natural charisma, but that's because almost nobody does.
Listen, everybody's going
Right.
for that. Like him, you could put him and LA Knight together, and it's like your brain would melt.
But yeah, no, like they were flailing with Theory on the main roster for a while, but I think putting him with Waller and letting them both just kind of play off each other's energy for that. I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah,
with these.
I mean, I think it's going to be really, really fun with whatever they're going to do.
Oh yeah.
Everybody gets their good moments. Ciampa gets to do his air raid crash spot. He gets to do.
I want so much more for those two.
Yeah.
I love Johnny Gargano and Tommaso. It's just, again, back with NXT, their whole dynamic, their rivalry, their partnership, but we just haven't seen it shine yet on the main roster.
It's
And
weird because they're so
it's-
clearly Triple H's guys. Like
It's so tragic.
yeah, like Paul knows what
Right.
they can do, and it's just kind of odd that it's like, why is there still?
Why is it taking so long?
Yeah,
But
He's got to. Well, I mean, he's got to work it around.
right,
to
all
get
these
it
other
happening, yeah.
titans.
Oh yeah.
And but when they finally get going, like I hope nobody gets injured immediately.
yeah. Well, there were a couple of spots where I was a little worried for people on this.
Yeah,
on this
yeah.
one. The New Day did a spot where I think it was, might have been Gargano who was placed
Ciampa.
across.
Yeah,
Ciampa
Ciampa.
set
Ciampa
across
was
the
the-
ladder horizontally, and Woods does an elbow from the rope and just hits that ladder horizontally. So you just know it's like his ribs are bouncing off the edge of that thing.
Oh god,
That just looked painful as hell.
It is very painful.
But we have a light in the match as well.
Dunn and his partner did the double backflip off the.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Tyler Bate. Yeah.
Tyler
The
Bate, there we
dual
go.
moonsaults. We have R-Truth in this match, and that's always always
And
a
that's
good
all
thing.
we need to know. It's the greatest match in the world.
I mean, he was on fire after he got the hot tag.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say nothing better
it-
in a ladder match than someone who doesn't know how the ladder match works.
Here's the thing: is like people are like, why is he? People are like, why is he doing that? It's like people act like it's a goof. He's in a tag team match.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's how these things work, man.
I
You can't get in the ring with somebody attacking him.
I love his comedy. I love how he's bringing this kind of humor to wrestling, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
and it's great because it you if you stop and think about it, you see the thought behind it.
Yes,
there
you
is
know.
a logic to it, and if you want and you catch onto it, it's hilarious.
It's like you're not on that train, but you do see the tracks.
Yes.
You do see where they lead and where he's coming from.
It's not like he's so random and wacky. He's like no he's there's a logic to this thing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It reminds me of like Big E.
Yeah.
It's this different vein of Adult Swim character that this guy is. And it is so much fun. It's that he was a bit rough to really get into earlier, back in the Vince era.
Yeah.
Because he was stuck with that 24/7 belt all the time.
Well,
and
it's because Vince in particular loves for people to have a thing to do and they have to get it over constantly.
right.
Like you were talking about Austin Theory working about getting him over. Well, I mean, what was his thing when they brought him up? Selfies, constantly selfies.
I feel like he has more freedom now.
Yeah, just let him commit to a thing about the reality he's moving through, and just
And it's just like
engage with that.
it's just like hear him out. Just listen to him. Just see if you can't find where he's coming from.
He gets the hot tag in this match, comes storming in, hits an attitude adjustment on Priest, and pins him for 1, 2, 3, and then gets
Yeah.
up to celebrate and takes a moment to realize that the match is still happening for
has to
some
quickly
reason.
And Miz
explain.
is just like, it's up there. And
And
they
he,
also
and he looks up like, well, that's dumb.
it's like they also have a fun moment with DIY
Yeah.
that they're just like, hey, if we get the Raw belts, you all get the SmackDown belts. And Tommaso's like, okay, let's get it.
Yeah.
It was like it's this moment of just like there didn't need to be teamwork, but R-Truth just knows how to bring the world together.
It's the nice thing about having this many teams is you just have like, okay, these two have a combination, these two have a moment, these two, and before long you've got a 17-minute match. And
Yeah.
that's just so it never slows down, it never gets old, and by the time it's done, you're just like, oh my gosh, wow, that was one of the longest matches on the card that didn't involve Samoans.
But then we get to another moment with R-Truth continuing the match because he is the one that hands back to the botched ladder spot. Damian Priest is going to grab a new ladder, and who is there to give him that ladder but R-Truth, being like, here you go, my friend that I've been trying to befriend for the last 2 months.
And Damien punches him like a jerk.
Yeah, he just like stomp kicks him in the face. And so then that leads to Damian Priest going up on the ladder, and then R-Truth coming in, throwing him down, doing a
He does another attitude adjustment,
yes,
I think,
he does.
to him.
And then he goes up, and then he grabs those belts.
Yep. So Miz and R-Truth are your new Raw Tag Team Champions with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory as the SmackDown champions.
And good on him. Good
Yeah.
on him. That was a good match.
Interesting that of all the titles on there, the only team that had held gold on the main roster as a tag team was the New Day. Everybody else has never been a tag team with gold before.
Right.
DIY had the NXT championships one time, but so in a lot of ways it just sort of felt like, this is a lot of the new tag talent we have going forward. After the division has kind of softened a little bit because the titles were unified, and so if you weren't in that story, it was hard to get momentum as a tag team.
Yeah.
Vince never gave much of a shit about tag teams unless it was getting an angle over.
Also that.
So, but hopefully now
It's another thing to look forward to, because then it's just another sign of like the change, and that the change is good. Like this, it's like we will right every wrong that we can, because we kind of have to now.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5.
and there's people
Yeah.
above them now who will step in and go, actually give people what they want.
They'd be like, no, you won't.
What if just your instinct isn't what everything needs to be? But yeah, 3.5. Fun match, chaotic. Again, not a lot to talk about apart from just a lot of fun bits and segments that eventually, again, 2 new tag teams walk out with gold, and excited to see where
It
the
is
division
worth
goes.
it is worth rewatching.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next up, another tag match. This is the Latino World Order, Rey Mysterio and Andrade,
Yes.
versus Santos Escobar and Dirty Dominic Mysterio.
So just to help remind me, because I missed out on, I think, the episode before. So it was supposed to be Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee.
Yes, he'd announced Dragon Lee as the new member of LWO, and he was going to team up with them to take on Santos and Dom.
Okay, and what happened to him again?
He was mysteriously attacked backstage, and while it was implied to be Santos and his guys, Carlito was the one who found him, so they could be setting up a heel turn there. Unclear, but yeah. So Andrade then came out with Santos and them, implying
I
that
don't
he
know
was
if
going to
that'll
join
pan
up.
out. They keep forgetting Carlito is there sometimes.
That is the biggest obstacle to him being unmasked. Yeah, as you've got to remember him long enough to find out he's guilty of something.
Right.
But yeah, so Andrade
Okay.
teased that he was going to join Santos and them, and then turned on them after the SmackDown match. Reunited with Zelina, which was actually a really sweet moment, and joined up with Ray for this.
Okay.
Really fun match. Good lucha energy. Rey Mysterio. I've said this, I think, every time he's had a match on a show I've talked about, but he moves like a man 20 years younger.
Oh yeah.
We watched a dad administer corporal punishment to his child.
Yeah. As well, you should.
Yes.
All the beatings Dominic didn't get when he was a kid
All
are
the
coming back
beatings
now.
and the screams covering his screams, as he deserves.
It is interesting that, not to jump to the end, but Ray pins Dom, which makes it 2 WrestleManias in a row where he's pinned his son on the match.
Yeah.
And what I recognize, Dom is not the kind of heel who needs a winning streak or
Yeah.
anything for his
No,
thing to work,
no.
but at a certain point, his dad's got to put him over.
No, it didn't work for him, brother.
Nah, I mean, Dominic is just what a wild evolution that kid has had. Like that. There was because was it a WrestleMania that they did the whole custody battle thing?
Oh yeah, that was.
I don't think that was a WrestleMania.
Money in the Bank.
I don't know when, but that was. I don't think it was a WrestleMania, but yeah, that whole
But
match.
to think that a kid would start that young
Yeah.
and then end up to be just like one of the most hated little shit characters you're ever gonna see in wrestling, like just the absolute spoiled brat.
Yeah.
SummerSlam 2005 was the
my-
custody of Dominic
oh
ladder
my
match.
God.
Just pulled that up.
I mean, hey, good on him for just being this character and just being okay with that. Because I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure, hey, who wouldn't want to work with Rhea Ripley
Oh yeah.
and imply that she's pegging you?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if it's as fun as it looks, sure.
I mean,
Are you talking about pegging or working with Rhea Ripley?
I think
I think it's whichever comes first,
I
right?
think one implies the other.
I mean, one would be a gentleman.
Well, I was going to say Rhea has to come first. That's just how
Yeah,
it goes.
I was going to say, it was like, be a gentleman, please. But yeah, I mean,
Long pause.
very good,
I
boys.
think he's writing down time codes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and of course, you also have joining the actual members of the match, you have Carlito, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde, and Zelina Vega coming out with Rey and Andrade, and you've got Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, and Elektra Lopez. So you know at some point it's all going to become a big brawl match in the middle of it.
Also, I'm pretty sure this one was this one wrestled under Lucha Libre rules? I didn't know if that was mentioned or not. Because at one point, I think the ref just kind of let it go because at one point, I think it was Dom dove into the ring to execute a move, and the ref clapped his hands like, "Oh, tag."
Oh yeah.
I don't know if there was a tag actually made, but just like, "Oh, nope."
It got to a point where we were just like, I'm not keeping track of anything.
just try to follow the dots.
Because essentially that's
moving.
Lucha Libre rules. It's like you don't have to tag. You just have to trade out.
So 2 people go out of the ring, 2 more people go in, and now they're both legal. Yeah, fun match. Everybody gets a little moment. Joaquin Wilde gets to do the spot he's done on NXT a couple of times, where they kind of springboard him off the bottom rope from the apron.
They launched that child,
and he just flies through the air, and you're actually shocked when he starts to arc downward like 20
and
feet from the
surprisingly
ring.
graceful.
Yeah, looks amazing.
It was picture perfect.
I would not look like that.
He didn't overshoot. He didn't fall short. He landed exactly where they needed to catch him. It was the safest that could have gone.
And whenever they do that spot, I'm like, how do you know when they tell you get like 25 feet back from the ring? Part of you's like, he's not going to make it that far.
That's just something you got to know from years of work.
You kind of be like, please make it that far.
Yeah.
Now, remind me, was this the Philadelphia Eagles interference match?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Also,
it is.
spoilers.
Towards the end of the match, 2 gentlemen in Rey Mysterio masks.
2 masked luchadors.
luchador
who we do not
gentlemen.
know.
Came out of the ring and
Although suspiciously wearing Philadelphia Eagles masks.
could mean anything.
It could be anyone.
Start working over Santos. I don't even know if he'd done anything especially heelish or if they
head off some sort of interference they were about to do.
They throw Santos back in the ring. Ray hits a double 619, gets the pin. And they unmask to reveal that it is none other than Travis Kelce's brother and Lane Johnson.
And my wife lost her fucking mind.
Oh, yeah.
She was so excited to see Jason Kelce.
Oh,
Good for him.
sweet.
Again, another nice thing about this
I had to
WrestleMania.
remind myself who he was.
Good use of
That was
celebrities.
kind of rude of you just to call him Travis Kelce's brother. He is also a football player.
I was gonna say Taylor Swift's
Potential brother-in-law.
Yeah.
All the news outlets are all hoping. Yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, again, celebrity show, obviously huge pop from the crowd when they unmasked.
Oh yeah.
Which those men couldn't wait to get their shirts off.
Like
after the match is over, they just yank their t-shirts off just because that's what
We're
you
not
do.
celebrating like that. What are you guys doing?
They did not-
That's just a Jason Kelce
Oh,
thing.
I know.
Have there been any other? Were there any other like WrestleManias that were so like the hosting team themed like heavy? I remember when they were in Miami that with all their thematics. I mean,
there was.
were there any other like big pay-per-views where it's like very set, like everything's themed towards like
It depends, but not. The only one that jumps out to me was there was a WrestleMania where Bam Bam Bigelow wrestled Lawrence Taylor, and I don't think it happened in Lawrence Taylor's where the team he was playing for. I don't think it happened in that town, but it was kind of themed to that. Mm-hmm. Just because it was it was a pretty big match.
Yeah, because like I want just when you go back and watch this, it is so like Eagles heavy with all of their colors.
And
like that, I was just like, okay, this must have been like part of the contract.
Everybody,
or something.
especially the faces, had their gear tuned.
Yeah,
Eagles
they were
colors.
merched out.
You've got to keep that crowd happy because you do not want Philly fans leaving an arena.
As the sign said, Santa deserved it.
Yeah, and related to football celebrities, let's not forget about the time Gronk was briefly a WWE
I was trying to
wrestler.
remember that. Yeah, he was at the
True.
Pandemic Mania.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's like you could also consider Paul McAfee or Pat McAfee. I don't know why. I'm off with names.
I
tonight.
try not to. He yells too much.
you've had Kane murder Pete Rose a couple of times.
It's great.
But yeah, no, fun match. Again, I gave it a 3. Not a lot of. It never really got out of just like the fun, like moving along register.
yeah.
But it did a good job of that. And again, it's a lucha match where everybody gets to show off.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see Andrade back on a pay-per-view. doing his spinning elbow that looks like it's going to take a man's head off.
Yeah, and the Judgment Day is now 1-for-1.
Yes, they've well, no, because they lost the tag titles. So
So now they're 1-for-2.
Yes.
yeah, so Rhea's the only one who's come out with a win so far at this point, and then
Yes.
all the fellas have. not
Although
had
really,
anything.
I hesitate to call that a Judgment Day thing. That was just Dominic just working despite his dad.
yeah,
I know, but you want to make sure that your faction comes out
That
with
man's
the wins.
feuding with everyone he can.
If we put
Yeah, no,
ourselves
that's
in the
true.
characters,
yeah.
It's true. As a fighting force, they're currently down,
yes,
but not out.
not out.
So next up, we have the one that everybody kind of acknowledges was sort of the whiff on this card. We have Uso on Uso action. Jey Uso versus his twin brother Jimmy in a match that has been basically building since like September 2020 when they did the first like join the bloodline story.
I don't say kind of. This was weak sauce.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I did not really acknowledge this match very much. It's that look. It's cool. It's cool. It's like I love the Hostile Brothers stories. They're absolutely fun.
This made me. I'll tell you. I'll give you context for this match. It made me appreciate what Roman does,
Yeah, it really like
because apparently no one can do it like he does.
I think it's bored when Roman does like 3 moves and stomps around, but at least he's got 3 moves. This was the super kick to
he's
super
got
kick
leading
to
man
super
energy.
kick.
When we get to the point tonight, can we just like have a moment to reminisce the bullshit that we don't have to see anymore? It's
Yeah.
but we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get
but
there.
I would like to vote for just like can we just
we can
have a breath of appreciation? But we'll get there.
Run down the list of mannerisms.
Yes. But it's like again, it's like these boys try to have soliloquies in the middle of a fight, and I'm just like, I want you to break his
It was
nose.
literally one move, pause, glare meaningfully at each other.
Well, like it starts
Kiss? No kiss.
it starts good. Like Jay gets like a big entrance. Lil Wayne is doing a live performance.
Oh, you mean the greatest rapper alive, Lil
they
Wayne?
were very specific about
I
that.
feel- I don't know.
I don't
The
even think they
greatest
said
rapper
alive.
alive, Lil
They
Wayne?
said of all time.
Of all time, excuse me.
So sorry.
Across time and space.
Well, there aren't any famous
I'll
dead
wait for the
rappers, are
diss
there?
track.
Yeah, so he comes down, Jimmy comes out, and then like before the bell starts, Jay like jumps to the outside, attacks Jimmy, throws him into the ring.
Just like, "Bow."
they hit the bell, and then he immediately drags Jimmy back out and starts beating on him. And I'm like, okay, good, keep this energy up.
No.
They don't. No.
They heard you. No.
Yeah, so and then it's just a bunch of super kicks, like you said, kind of the stomping around thing.
I would like to think that the choreography these boys have had for years, it's like to finally be able to do this match that they've done in their kitchen to it's
Every
like
family gathering.
it's like being a brother, it's like you have those little like scenarios that you play out, and it's just like, wouldn't it be cool if we had this at this moment? And they get to have it. They get to have that little choreographed fight that they played around with in the kitchen at WrestleMania. And it isn't that it's not really something to look at, is it?
Maybe when they were kids, that was it. And it was just, and I'll kick you. Well, I'll kick you.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I'll
mean,
kick
it had
you.
that, but it had that energy, though. I will give them that.
Yeah.
It's definitely just like watching little kids wrestle.
I feel honestly, as like in my head, I want like Triple H to pull them and the producers. I'd go, what happened, guys?
It's like, what is
So-
that?
What happened?
We had 18 pages of notes on this, and we lost pages 2 through 17. So we had the
Yeah.
super kick and we had the go home.
And that's also why the match suddenly ended like it did, because when it happened, I was like, oh, they're finally built. Wait, it's done. Everyone.
It's
It's like,
the
wow,
clo-
what else happens?
The
What?
closest thing we get to an emotional spot is like Jimmy randomly being like, throwing his hands up and being like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah, he was
And-
like, and then it was like this supposed to be like the psych motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
gets him a
yeah.
2
like they're
count.
br-
And
Yeah,
then,
that little. Yeah, now I remember that. Yeah.
Plus, that there's an immersion breaker. It's like I would never trust a sibling doing that.
Oh yeah, like Hey,
That should be the person you most of all know can't be trusted.
it was very hokey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just,
Scar, brother, help me.
that's exactly what I was thinking the entire time. I was like, oh God, we're doing this.
It's just sort of like, I mean, you watch, like, go back and watch any, like, given match of the Lucha Brothers. You know, anytime, like, Penta and Rey Fenix
Yeah.
are thrown down. And that's what it looks like when you have two people who are just like, it's cool if I kill you, right? Yeah, no, I'll kill you too.
Yeah.
Awesome, let's go.
It's cool, but only if I don't kill you first. So,
Oh yeah, well I get to pick dinner. We're going to Chili's.
Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox.
You pinky swore. I saw it.
But yeah, I gave it, this is 1 3/4, just...
J1 for anyone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he hits a really weak-looking spear, does an Uso splash.
Otherwise known as a sport.
Yeah.
And then everyone was very dull surprised when it was like, oh, that's a 3 count. Oh, what?
Yeah,
And there was much rejoice.
Well, it's over.
yeah. And
Well, we know where that time went.
it gave it up to the tribal chief. So yeah, 1 3/4.
Oh, God.
Moving on to...
I don't have to hear that anymore either.
I mean, you do, but it doesn't.
Yeah, but they got to beg for it
Yeah.
now.
I'm the tribal chief, so yeah, but everyone can go, yeah, jerk off motion.
So yeah, yabba dabba do, boy. Wait.
So next up, we have a 6-woman tag team match with Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi against Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. I'm reading it like it's spelled.
It's like the key on your laptop. You show some respect.
How many times do you have to practice saying it like that?
They don't write vowels. I don't say vowels.
I say Caturl, but okay.
Yeah.
I say it like the dude from Birdemic, like solo vowels,
Oh yeah.
damage control.
Damage control. Climate change.
Yeah. So this was another match where you don't really. There's no doubt in the outcome here. We know what's going to happen. This is Jade Cargill's second time wrestling a match in WWE. The first one was Royal Rumble, and it's
Just to cut in, it's like, yeah, you're right. Thinking about it now, pretty much all of this WrestleMania is a proper reset WrestleMania. That's usually what a WrestleMania would have been. Was like, you conclude in a big way all of the overarching stuff, and then now you're going to do some new stuff. You know, carry some stuff over, but mostly reset.
Yeah.
And that's why the stuff that I felt was, okay, obviously this is going to be the ending, or this feels like it's just a warm-up instead of... It feels okay because I'm excited to see what you do with this in the coming year.
Right.
And obviously this person wins because we've made it this far without actually using this phrase, but this is where that story finishes for right now, and then we start onto something new.
Yeah.
We have used it. That's the first time. It's been about 45 minutes. I think commentary would have used it, what you think, 15, 20 times in that span before they even started the Cody match.
Yeah.
Finish the story. But yeah, so we'll get to that. But this really was just Naomi is the only person on her team who actually has a moment where it looks like she's not gonna win the match. Bianca comes in and cleans house. Eventually Bianca tags Jade. Jade comes in, everybody backs away, and she just wrecks people for a little bit.
And they all look amazing.
Right.
They did.
Like
Oh
they
my
looked
God.
beautiful.
They showed up and showed out.
I mean, it's that they had
match.
like a let's see. Jada excuse me. Jada had like an Emma Frost look. That was really cool. It's very X-Men inspired.
Sort of like, yeah, kind of the silvery.
Yeah, I mean, and she did that in AEW
Yeah.
too, but like this one had like a really fresh kind of look to it.
I think it was that she's going more with the short hair. Than
Yeah,
like,
she is.
That too.
Yeah. But yeah, their entrance is awesome. They get like kind of lowered in with a backlight behind them, and then they each sort of step off one at a time to kind of get their own little moment before walking down together. I kind of get why they're doing this because ever since Jade debuted, a lot of people were immediately fantasy booking her against other female wrestlers and other companies. And it was just kind of interesting which specific female wrestlers they always fantasy booked her against. People would be like, oh, Jade versus Bianca Belair, Jade versus Naomi, Jade versus, switch to NXT roster, Lash Legend. And I think just to be like, everybody involved.
Wait, I see a pattern.
Yeah, I think everybody involved at some point got on social media and was just like, you really don't have to do that, guys.
I mean, it's that she's gonna go against Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
That is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's gonna be gunning for that belt, and that is gonna be that's the match we're leading towards. I see.
Yeah.
It's that and that's going to be one that is going to be very, very exciting.
I think they save that for SummerSlam. I'm curious if they're going to give Jade a singles match between now and then, because they're definitely making each of her matches an event. Like, she comes out and it's this huge, thunderous thing. And it's like, okay, eventually you want to let her actually have a one-on-one match. But
Well, yeah, I mean, they're gonna do that definitely. They're gonna give her singles matches because.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hell, they gave Ultimate Warrior singles matches. You
Yeah.
have to show them off, show her off. You have to show them off. So.
I mean, it's smart because she had this huge streak in AEW where she just had a bunch of singles matches, most of which were squashes.
She looks, and that's just because it's there's been time and she's been more training. She looks, and I don't mean this in a striking sense, but she looks noticeably less stiff now.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Noticeably, like she's way more smoother with her work.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think the thing about working with with WWE versus AEW is AEW, there's not really a house style. You don't know if you're going to get somebody who's worked lucha or who's worked joshi or who's worked whatever.
I didn't even mean like in that sense, just because she's actually still she's progressing very well in her training.
She's training and she's working with everybody who like knows the same language in a way that you don't necessarily get in a company like AEW, which is very much by design. Like, hey, you never know what style and what mix you're going to get. So one of the reasons that I think Jade is. The sky is the limit for her in WWE.
Yeah, like I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she got whatever she wanted.
Yeah,
and as well she should.
If she's not a world champion by next WrestleMania, I will be truly shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's that right now it's just establishing that she is like the new challenger for like the strongest woman on the roster.
Yeah,
like that is what she is going to be built for, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a cool show.
Yeah. So, again, fun match. Not a lot of drama. Not a lot of story. This is a showcase. This is like give the crowd a taste of what Jade is going to be doing, and also let Bianca show up and be a star in her own way.
Yeah.
Asuka, I think, gets the braid whip this time.
Yes,
gets that
she did.
audible.
And Kyrie got a misdirect of missed.
Yes. I actually missed that the first time. The first time.
When it comes to damage control, I mean they're just dissipating it right now. Like that's what I see is going on, because I think they're going to try and reestablish the Kabuki Warriors. I really don't know what Dakota Kai fits in there.
They haven't made any real overtures to that fact yet, because they were actually accepting her as a teammate right now, at least.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was synergy there. They started. At least a while in advance, showing off that Bayley wasn't really meshing with the group.
Yeah,
like there were subtle for wrestling hints that it's like they were essentially excluding her.
Which leading up to War Games, where Bayley's just like literally throwing herself in the way of moves and being like, "You see what I did for you guys? You see?"
Oh yeah.
So I've and we'll get to her soon, but I think this is also how we get babyface Bayley again.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, she's there. She's just got to be accepted again, because she spent a lot of time being a bad guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the Kabuki
Warriors.
The Kabuki Warriors, are they're on the downswing a little bit right now, or the damage control is.
Well, here's the thing. I was looking at this. Asuka has never won a match at WrestleMania. Not a tag match, not a singles match. Which I was like, that can't possibly. Nope. She has won every time she's been in a contested match at WrestleMania. So I really hope she and Kyrie get to go on a tear. Like, if they remember that the women's tag belts exist, maybe. Like,
the what now?
Yeah.
I looked. They're still around, apparently. I think it's Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, but I think Chelsea's dealing with an injury. All right, so I give the women's tag match. Okay, it was a 3. It was fun, exciting, but not like by design, not something that like took you through like the heights of drama.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
For that, we have to go to the next match, which is the Intercontinental title match of Gunther defending against Sami Zayn.
This was, again, it's a match that ended in a way that was just so surprisingly satisfying.
Yes.
Like, it just feels like we are out of that Vince era,
especially because I was in a room full of cynics who didn't believe and hope.
Right. And I mean, that's kind of the new adjustment now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that things might actually go the way that feels right.
Well, you see, it's like I think Triple H and other people understand you have to get people's hopes properly raised so you can dash them all the better.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
to
the
bring
good
it
thing
back again.
happening can't be.
It's gonna happen, but you can't do it all the time.
We need the all is lost moments.
It's not great if the satisfying thing is only a surprise to people because they are so used to you pissing on their hopes and dreams.
Yeah, and
Do you think people might start winning in their hometowns again?
Let's not go crazy.
Okay.
it is something to keep an eye on.
But yeah, so we get a really awesome thing ahead of this match where Sammy is hugging his wife and his adorable little son backstage. Chad Gable, who's been kind of coaching him for this match, wishes him luck. We follow Sammy as he goes through the hallways towards the stage, and right before he goes out, Kevin Owens is there waiting for him. Just gives him a guy love shove, just hitting the shoulders.
Just a nice howdy do.
And sends him out there to his music. And oh man, I don't want to say that this match exceeded my expectations because that makes it sound like I wasn't hoping for much, and I knew it was going to be a great match. It just succeeded in a way that was so different from what I thought it would do that it was just kind of amazing. That like I thought, Sammy's gonna have a great match, he's gonna fight, but he's gonna get crushed because they haven't built this up enough for Gunther to lose here. And then they built it within the match itself. Like they just tell the story start to finish of Sammy getting crushed like everybody else by Gunther, but somehow finding it in him to get back up and keep fighting.
It's like it's just the moment of just like he found the weak spot.
Yeah.
It's that he found what is just like there it is. It's it's the hole in the Death Star, and it's just like I see it, and I'm gonna capitalize on it.
And it's that Gunther can't help but find the nearest relative of the person he's fighting.
Yes.
And make sure they know he's hurting them.
Just verbally abuse their spouse.
Sammy's wife made it all the way back around to sit right in the front row. So yeah, Gunther was giving her a lot of eye contact right after like the third power bomb on her husband.
Look what I'm doing.
He gives her a smile at one point, and I feel like we haven't seen him smile in the ring before, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Like he's about to go up top, I think, for a splash, and he's just got this, oh, this is going to do it.
You never want to see an Austrian smile.
Germanic humor is no laughing matter.
But it's just, yeah.
It is a gas.
Oh.
As you were saying.
Anyway, it's the classic thing they would do with an old Brock Lesnar match where, Gunther is so dangerous. You've got to stay ahead of him. Like, don't let him get his hands on you. Duck under his chops. Just keep hitting him and keep moving.
Except it works this time.
Yes, this one time it does. And even then, it's not just attrition because Sammy pulls out a move that I think goes back to his Ring of Honor days.
It does, yeah.
That he hasn't, I don't know if he's never done it in WWE, but he definitely hasn't done it in a while.
Well, he picked it up from this luchador named El Generico. Who did it
I
all.
think they used to hang out a little bit. I hate that guy retired. I feel like he had so much more he could have done. Is that it?
No,
It's the ultimate retirement.
No, he died saving a bunch of orphans from a fire.
Oh.
Wow. You either die or hero.
Did he flip?
That's the official story I've heard online.
That's the official word from Reddit, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, Ring of Honor just had a match where a guy was angry because the other members of his faction got fed to a bear. So who even knows anymore?
That's unfortunate.
That's biblical.
Well, they certainly didn't get fired. No,
Were they
siree.
mocking a bald-headed man?
If only I had that power.
But yeah, no, just like Gunther continued. Like we had a few people in the room who hadn't seen a Gunther match before, and I think Charles Holmes, who we were watching with,
Yeah.
And so we were just like, everybody, go quiet for a moment so you can hear it the first time Gunther connects with a chop, and just right there, it's like, oh, okay, that's what this guy's about.
It's scary. Such a scary sound.
Yeah, but. Yeah, so eventually Sammy powers through, it's a turnbuckle brain buster, just drops Gunther on his head on the turnbuckle, and then 2 haluva kicks in the corner, and he gets the pin.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Just if I'd known ahead of time, I would have been like, I'm not sure this can feel like a worthwhile end to Gunther's run, but they got me there.
Like it's just cool. It's really cool.
But as is tradition, in order to chase the world title, you have to lose the Intercontinental first.
And my money is on Gunther challenging Cody and Bash at Berlin. That like the most American, all-American Americana babyface is going to be coming out and getting crushed by Austrian's kind of a local to a match in Berlin, right?
Sure.
They're invited guests.
I'm part German. I'll believe you.
I mean, I feel like challenging the guy with a bunch of eagle iconography in Germany will go over well.
Yeah, you are so right. Especially with a baby face that shows the aesthetic of the villain.
JBL shows up as special guest referee.
No.
Yeah, so I gave that one 4.5. That was it was an amazing match. Story they told was great.
It's a great underdog story.
Yeah, like all the moments where you're like, oh, he's got him now. This is it. Sammy's had the good fight. Oh my gosh, he kicked out. How?
I mean, good on him though.
Yeah.
Like Sammy has been such a big like plot point for so many stories. Like just he started the downfall of the bloodline.
Yeah, him
like
and
you can say that because he opened that rift between that entire family.
Someone pointed out, so because Gunther, he holds the record for both the longest single reign and the most combined days with the Intercontinental title, which means 2 years in a row, Sammy has, by winning, he has ended a record-setting title reign because that's what they did when they beat the Usos last year.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's just a wild.
You better think
we're in a wild time.
You better think twice about setting a record for holding a title in WWE.
Yeah, Charlotte Flair comes back and wins like her 18th title reign, and then Sammy's just like, this is what happens now.
Me.
Boy, I could have watched that match for 44 minutes and 35 seconds, but... Oh, wait, no, shoot, that's the next one.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, so next up, we have your night one...
Well, you say next up.
Okay.
But there was kind of a power gap.
Yeah, oh my God.
Watching this on Peacock, because we're not watching with someone who has like the fancy no ads version, if that's a thing. So we get like Slim Jim commercials and Snickers and everything. All of the recap packages are replaced with like whatever ads or commercials for upcoming Peacock stuff.
But luckily for us, before the Uso match, we got a video package that recounted like every day of the build.
They were standing back to back, like talking in opposite directions, and you just kind of expected them to start like snapping their fingers and moving out of the spotlight.
It was an art piece.
It's the one time I wish we had picture in picture.
I was like, one weird thing about that is they kept switching between their ring names and acknowledging and using their real names. Like, my name is like Joseph Fatou or whatever.
That's how you know it's the most real.
Yeah, it's the oh my God.
Where was that in the ring?
Somewhere.
So yeah, your night one main event is the Bloodline, The Rock and Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins, which was always their plan for this WrestleMania.
Well, that's what The Rock said in that interview.
Yeah.
He knew when he came out and challenged Roman that the crowd was going to seem grudgingly accepting and then Twitter was going to explode.
This match...
And that Cody wouldn't be able to keep his game face on.
Yeah.
It's that I will say this match did feel as big as they made it out to me.
Well, we were just talking about how the Usos couldn't deliver, and this is what it is when you've got guys who have developed enough presence in the ring that even if I wish they'd pick the pace up a little bit, it still feels like, oh man, they can just hold like this stare at each other from across the ring for seconds without it just stopping.
You know how some people try to get you into a show and they say you got to give it about 6 or 7 episodes and then it gets good.
Yeah.
This match is like you got to give it about 15, 20 minutes and then it starts getting good.
Yeah. But it's within this moment that I didn't really mind that stalling.
Yeah.
Because it is at that the end game of this whole story. Like it's going to go one way or the other. So, yeah, and especially with it just being night one, it's that we're going to, like, really lay it on thick of just, like, any movement that we make is like, top-tier television, which we have known for years that is not true. Mm-hmm. But yet, this was different. This felt...
Sure.
I guess it was because of the presence of The Rock, because, again, I didn't really get back into wrestling until 2015. That was well after The Rock stopped wrestling.
You did. There was one match he had in that time. He had a 6-second match with Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32 in 2016. So
Cool.
there you go.
I think there were other things happening that year that had my attention.
Nope, that 6 seconds is burned into your brain.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why
You're
we're
right.
telling you now.
You're right. But my point is that I've never really watched live footage of The Rock wrestling. I had never seen that. And there are a lot of kids in that place that have only known The Rock for like Moana and all those movies and all those appearances and with him
Black
being
Adam.
No,
Right.
Nobody knows him from that because nobody saw that.
Right. But it's just like this is the moment where you get to see what made Dwayne Johnson The Rock. Like this is that character that brought us this man.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big moment.
And especially heel Rock.
Right. So to be, even though it was a complete mistake, the choices that they made, we got to see the villain, The Rock, and for them to have this moment of just like, we really don't know which way this is gonna go.
Also, we'll say in the era of Vince's time, it would have just been like, nope, this is the main event. They'll come around.
And that's the other thing. It's just there is this unpredictability now where it's like the last few years we have been just like abused creatively that we can more or less predict, like, we want it to go this way. It feels right that it went this way. And Vince adamantly hated that.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, it was never an official catchphrase, but they would always talk about how anything can happen in the WWF/WWE. And then quickly you realize, it's anything that Vince wants to happen can happen. And now we're kind of back to possibly anything can happen.
Yeah. And we came into this, I mean, with Cody and Seth, it was already a mishmash tag team to begin with. I understand the choice of Seth, but I thought it was kind of left field a bit, especially since he had to have another match the next day. So
I would say the one thing that kind of still sticks out a little bit to me in all of this is that Seth Rollins, he's sort of the fourth guy in this build with Cody and the Bloodline. And then in his own match where he's defending his world title, he's sort of this third man when the real story seems like it's Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. So it sort of feels like he's playing kind of a hazy supporting role in two other people's big events. That said, there's a moment, and we'll get to when we talk about the Night 2 main event, where it just all kind of clicked together, and I'm like, oh, this is the role he plays in Roman's last downfall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll get there when it comes, but like the reason that they kept him in this, and the reason that honestly, this is something that maybe even goes back to, I think it was Royal Rumble 23.
See, I understand my wrestling narratives because I knew how this match was going to end, and I knew how it fed into the Night 2. And I knew why they had Seth do it because people. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah. The thing about this match is that the outcome's never really in doubt because, I mean, the stipulation is if Seth and Cody had won, then the Bloodline would have been barred from ringside. Now we'll skip past for a second that it's always illegal for people to interfere.
That means nothing. The Bloodline shows up every time. They've been barred before and showed up and nothing happened to them.
It's never supposed to be something you can do to just run in and hit a guy to cost him the title.
Well, I mean, and that's what The Rock uses in this match, is that acknowledgement that they could just do whatever they want.
And there's some great bits with that. Like, I missed it the first time, but when the fight spills to the outside and you have them brawling off in different directions in the crowd, Rock takes a moment to look at the ref and goes,
"Oh, you missed that?
If you count, you're fired."
No, yeah, he because they've acknowledged that he is also on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, yeah, you don't do anything.
It's
And
like
then-
you don't do a
There is no
thing.
count out in this match.
Right. And that is such a fun, like, villain move.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to be like,
And there you go. That's
Just be
all the
like, if you
justification you
don't-
need to have
Yeah.
just have a falls count anywhere moment.
it's just like, get used to it, Cody. You're going to have the same thing twice.
Yeah. And I think at one, like, he literally yanks the ref out of the ring. I think when Cody's almost got Roman pinned, again, a nice element of Roman's generally the one who's getting in the middle of the fight, but The Rock is just kind of running around on the outside, which again, making him like the big boss of the bloodline.
Well, it was also one thing you noticed that they really downplayed when it came to the announcement of him once they all got in the ring, is that his announcement by Samantha was very subtle, very moot compared to Roman's. And that's to try and give this presence of just like, well, Roman is the actual big baddie here and not The Rock. And it's just like, come on.
I will say, I love that he was gifted a belt by Muhammad Ali's widow last night, and now he carries that to the ring. Like
that is a sick belt.
Yeah, that's a cool looking belt.
That is an awesome belt.
People's Championship, which because he got I think the Great One, or was it the People's Champ?
Yeah, it was the People's Champ,
from Ali.
Yeah,
and I think apparently he'd asked him to do that like way back in the '90s when he started doing
crazy.
that. And now sort of like a payback.
I love it when they make belts look like taxidermy. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, eagles, bulls, any animal you can put on.
Well,
a belt.
it's also
I fully agree.
it's a variation of when he won the title and when he was corporate champ, he had his own Brahma bull belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool belt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so fun match across the board. Again, Rock has to be given. Dude's 51 years old, and he always had a kind of style that was very physical, very involved.
Yeah,
and he put the work in to carry it through this match. Like he I'm sure he was tired, but
I don't know if he did enough cardio though. He should be asking R-Truth for tips because R-Truth is 52.
I mean that's what money gives you, man.
R-Truth has found an elixir of youth, and no one should try to break the spell by asking him about it.
They don't crack.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so it ends with let's see. Roman gets Cody down in the ring, and then Rock makes Roman tag him in so he can do a rock bottom and a people's elbow to pin Cody, which is just one final bit of laying the groundwork for when those two are going to have their match. Maybe, what do you think, SummerSlam or WrestleMania next year?
Because when you're equal in stature, that happens all the time.
Right.
There's no boss. I just do what he tells me.
Right.
I decided to do that.
I decided to follow my older relative.
So, yeah, I admit, I kind of walked out of night one feeling a little not in love with that main event, but the more I've thought about it, and especially knowing what they're setting up for night two.
That match was always a setup to night two, so it's like, eh.
Well, people have been making the comparison with the two nights to the last two Avengers movies.
Right.
So, like, this is the end of Infinity War.
Right.
It's just like, it's this big cliffhanger of just like, oh man, this is the bloodline got its way. What's gonna happen?
You even mimic the shot with after they Rock and Roman win are walking back up. You have Cody sitting in the ring with his back to them,
and Seth disappears.
Yeah, but so
he had to go back to the fashion dimension.
All right, so into the match with recreating Cody's pose of defeat from WrestleMania 39. No chicken got thrown into the ring, as far as I could see.
No.
But still, I think you're right on with the Infinity War feeling. Like, this is the good guys at their lowest point ahead of the finale on night two.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't love it watching it. But the more I've thought about it, the more, and just kind of how it fed in.
That's your brain accepting it because of how night two ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, and part of me is like, do I try to gauge it just as its own? But nope, it's so clearly a part one event that it gets up to 3 3/4 for me. Like, just seeing The Rock in there, seeing him lean into the heel roll and play it so well.
And I mean, I hadn't had that excitement since the Avengers movies. So it was really nice to like have that kind of like, oh, where do we go from here?
All right, so that gets us through night one, and then we all go home, get some sleep, come back for night two, where they'd reported that Triple H was also going to come out and do a bit ahead of this one, but in fact it is not Triple H who comes out, but Stephanie McMahon, making her appearance, I think her first appearance on television in 3 years about. Just talks up WrestleMania XL, and like you mentioned earlier, now that we're using shoot names, christening this the Paul Levesque era. Not sure that's going to stick, but...
Yeah, we'll punch it up. We'll punch it up later.
It's a mission statement.
Yeah. I appreciate the thought. We'll work on the marketing.
Yeah. Let's see. So we open with the world title match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship with, and this is plot relevant, with CM Punk on guest commentary.
Now, this was a fun match. Is very quick.
Yeah, I was shocked to realize that this.
I wouldn't say very, but it was definitely like hard hitting and fast paced, and a lot of things that
It
happened.
felt very quick.
It did feel very quick.
10 minutes, 30 seconds was the time, but yeah, it was. Like the bell rings and Drew literally flattens Seth with a claymore. Like they started.
They
off
teased
in
it because they've done stuff like that before. They teased it.
We're gonna see a Sheamus Bryan moment again. I was just like, they can't do that. I know Seth's tired. It's been a long weekend for him, but they can't do that. Yeah, but they both of them get awesome entrances. By the way, I just got to say, Drew has a full like bagpipe, and I think it was the Ulster Scottish Pipe Band playing "Scotland the Brave" before his music hits.
Swordsman holding swords over him.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome. And
Seth had Mardi Gras.
yeah, I don't know how to I think that's the closest.
That's it.
I saw like the cast of Seussical Does the Music Man was sort of my thing, but is that Mardi Gras?
It's very Mardi Gras esque.
You've been to.
I will admit, I was doing some Lottie duties while this part was going on, which is why I said it was quick, because by the time I had finished up cleaning up Lottie, the match was already over. So I missed out on a good little bit. I know the main beats, but that's what it is to be a parent.
See, I judge it based on the instruments. They were using banjos, accordions, and a lot of brass. That's typically kind of Zydeco.
Okay,
Yeah.
that tracks. Which
I think it was
Seth-
meant to simulate that kind of feeling.
I mean, Seth has always done like this wild fashion style that is like very. It reminds me a lot of like how can I put this? Like contemporary art scene that you see in like Manhattan, in like even Los Angeles. It's just like this wild, abstract style, and you call it fashion.
you're very heightened runway.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like just the exaggeration and decadence of personality.
I can sum it up a little more succinctly. It's the Joker party man scene from Batman 1989.
I could agree to that. Yes, it's just like you just look at it and you'd be like, why is this the way that it is, and why is it this colorful?
It's always been a little weird to me because it's not like his gimmick has been like, oh, I'm this artist with a great vision. It's just most of his promos are still like, I'm Seth Rollins and I'm here to. But he just comes out with like shoulder pads that are 8 feet in the air.
It's more like fashion icon that he's going for, and it's like that, or more of just like the wild celebrity, and like that's been his gimmick for the last 2 years. Because when was the last time we had the Monday Night Messiah?
That I think it's born out of the fact that he tried being the architect after breaking up the Shield.
Yes.
Then he was the Monday Night Messiah, and then something just kind of broke from there.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm just gonna have fun.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just gonna be a wild little style and do those Astro Boy boots one time, and it's like topical fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And you got McIntyre, whose gimmick is now that basically he is every troll on wrestling Twitter combined.
So good.
But it's fun. It's funny.
It was so good.
Literally, at one point during the match, I think he takes Seth out on the outside of the suplex, and his McIntyre's wife is in the front row, and he just like leans on the barricade next to her, takes her phone, types for 15 seconds, and then goes back to the match. And it's not till later I see on his Twitter feed, "Bored at work, lol."
That's funny.
Oh, that's
it's
good.
just Drew knows how to have fun, but then shenanigans happen.
Yeah, so the whole match, he's been kind of like getting into it with Punk, who's on commentary. Punk's not medically cleared, and Drew has been very happy to rub that in his face. At one point, I think he signals for a go to sleep that Seth counters out of, but it ends with Drew hitting the Claymore. Kind of a quick ending. I was a little surprised by that, but he does get the Claymore, pins Seth for a 3 count. And Drew McIntyre is your new World Heavyweight Champion, winning a world title for the first time with a crowd there to cheer for him. And you can see on his face that he's feeling that.
It's really sweet. It's a really nice, like, cathartic moment.
So, of course, the most important thing to do is go rub that in CM Punk's face, which
Yes.
I agree with.
He does take a moment to celebrate his wife, but yeah, he puts the belt on the commentary table in front of Punk and then crawls like a cat. Like he gets on the commentary table and crawls on all fours across to stare Punk in the
Stare
face.
Punk down, make out with him
I
a
mean,
little.
it's great for Chicago. Bob Fosse would be very, very pleased.
And then he stands up and he's gloating, and Punk can't take it anymore and just sweeps the ankle out from under him. And Punk, who's apparently a giant faker who's been faking this whole time, tears off the triceps brace on his arm, wraps it around his fist, and decks.
This tracks.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we
so-
wouldn't expect anything less.
So you think, okay, so yeah, there's the new feud. It's set up. It's good. Wait a second.
Judgment Day's music hits, and
Here comes the boy.
I thought all their stuff was night one, but nope, they stuck
Nope.
around. They don't have
Wait
their
a
plane tickets till
minute.
They just
Monday.
can't go away.
So yeah, Damian Priest comes charging down on his way over to the timekeeper, just like drive by, slams his briefcase into Drew's face, cashes in, rolls him into the ring. South of Heaven is the movie does. 1, 2, 3, 9-second match. Damian Priest is your new world heavyweight champion.
You can't help but laugh. It's like you don't hate the player, hate the game.
Do you know what makes that extra special? They've held off for doing that for a while with the run out immediately after a match and title change again.
Mm-hmm.
They've purposely held off on that and actually made it happen again.
Yeah, I mean, it became a joke that Priest has like 1 month before the next Money in the Bank, at which point he can't use the contract anymore. And it was just like, oh, I guess he's never going to do it. This made me angry in a good way. Like, I was mad for Drew while also recognizing, dude, this is your own fault. This is karma coming back to you.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's really funny to just see karma play out, where it's like, yeah, you might have deserved the belt because it's just this nice thing you never thought you get to have, and you get to have it.
saw-
and then it's just like, no.
I saw Punk hit him and I saw the purple lights flash and I started laughing because I
Yeah.
knew what was coming.
You just can't help it.
And I think, Punk has been more than happy to rub that in on social
yeah.
media. He does the the blow a kiss thing while Drew's lying in the ring. It's, yeah. I'm kind of not going to sidetrack this podcast with a bunch of other stuff. I'm sort of over Punk a little bit, but this was a very good use of him and his energy. And
It is.
I look forward to what he and McIntyre do. I am curious if this feud is going to be the thing that sends Drew out of WWE, because there have been some rumors that he's looking elsewhere, and he's another one who's got his contract coming up.
I'm in the vein of just like, we just got to see.
Yeah.
You know, it's that it just depends on what's going to be best for him at the time. I don't know why he would say no to more money like this, because that means he's going to be in a pretty lengthy feud with CM Punk. And even though he's got a track record that he does, that also brings in a lot of marks, and a lot of marks that have money. I would be surprised if Drew left, but I think that would say more to how difficult CM Punk is to work with when you're on his bad side.
I think it might just honestly be sort of like the Adam Copeland thing of just like, I'm ready to try like a different sort of thing for my career.
It has to be something like that.
I will say, after the 6 months he's had, whether he stays, whether he goes somewhere else, he is gonna walk out with a huge payday.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's in a great position to negotiate whatever he wants.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, and I did look this up, guys, I actually researched this. What he just had was the shortest reign in the history of that World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, well, there you go. He did leave a winner.
Although there's only been
Of that belt, yeah.
of that belt, yeah. There has been
Yeah.
one that was a little bit less short than that, but yeah, Drew is just, nobody has ever lost that belt so quickly.
You got to take those victories where you can.
Went all the way through that long list of people who have held it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave Seth and Drew, I gave that 3.5 because
Yeah.
again, fun match, good through. I always wonder if I should score cash-in matches because they're not really designed to be like bell-to-bell stories. They're supposed to be just kind of a brief thing. But because of how it fits with the angle, it's such a great little cap on this and a great bit of instant karma for Drew. I gave it a 2. And I say that for a match that had almost no wrestling and was just a quick.
You should
No,
grade
no,
it.
that match had little wrestling, but it was wrestling.
I think you should grade it more like an elective. Like you give it a U or you give it an N.
I've sometimes wondered about having like separate grading scales for segments versus matches, but I
Right.
don't know. Like, not every card has enough of that for it to be worth it.
Right.
All right, so moving ahead, we have the Pride versus the Final Testament. This is an six-man Philadelphia street fight between Bobby Lashley, Angelo Dawkins, and Montez Ford against Karrion Kross, Akam, and Rezar.
And
Y'all, I'm gonna be 100%. I didn't care about this match.
how could you not care? It had a very special guest referee.
I didn't care. Like
One of the Dudleys, right? I could never tell them apart. That's the problem with them being brothers. They look so much alike. This was this the Dudley who was a preacher for a little bit?
No.
No. Right. This is the Dudley who's morphed into Alex
It
Jones.
was Sign Guy.
I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I couldn't remember who that guy was.
Yeah, no. So this was a story that has played out on TV for a couple of months, and maybe fittingly, it culminates with a match that would not have been out of place on just your random SmackDown. This is what happens when you have two nights, and it's like, well, we got to give everybody something,
Right.
So it's a street fight. Tables, people get hit with kendo sticks.
It's hard for me to care about Karrion Kross now. I'm having a hard time. Ever since he left NXT, I'm just like, do I care? I want to. He seems like a great guy.
He's got
But
long hair now.
Someone should cut it. Maybe he'll get some strength back.
His Scarlett had a blonde brunette turn, which
True, she got a lot spikier.
yeah. Yeah, there's not really much to say about this one.
Yeah, and then they have Tweedledee, Tweedledum, whoever they are.
No, there is something to say about this match, and that
What
is
was
the
it?
godsend that was Snoop Dogg on commentary.
Okay, yes. Oh my gosh, that's why none of us remember anything, because we were listening to the commentary.
I was listening to the commentary for this one and this one alone.
Yes, it was sponsored by Gin and Juice, which is Snoop's new beverage, and he came out to join them at the table. And again, we're all watching. There's some volume in the room, but when you just hear one of his lines, he's just doing a Yogi Bear impression as they're setting up tables on the
Snoop
outside.
Dogg continues to be WrestleMania MVP.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
He can literally
There's
plug
peanuts
into
and
any
baskets, man.
facet of this show and work.
What? Yeah, just that was awesome. Okay, you know what? That actually bumps it up a little bit because that did make it fun to watch.
I wish I could remember specifics right now because this is how my brain works. I just can't remember things after a day. but there he had some
This really is leading to Snoop Dogg narrating everything, right?
just some
Is
lines.
Snoop Dogg's going to be the new Morgan Freeman.
He was commentating like a fan, and it was great because it's like
And that's been what makes Pat McAfee so great too.
he grates on me. He grates on me
Hey,
hard.
But to my point is that he's a fan. Like he's
Sure.
it's like he's a mark. It's that he gets that raw emotion of somebody that isn't on the know. You know.
I get that, and I agree to an extent. But
It's
man,
like we could debate on the personalities, indeed.
man, everything that ends up grating to me about that on McAfee works perfect on Snoop Dogg.
and that's what I mean.
Because
You know.
his passion is just natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with McAfee, he does a little can go a long way because he does tend to go into the oh my god, this is happening, and over two nights and a bunch of matches, it just starts to feel like what are you not going to yell about? And Snoop will just some stuff he gets hyped for, some stuff he thinks is funny, some stuff he goes into like a stream of consciousness ramble on.
I forget who. I think it was. I forget which team. He chastised someone just in such a way. It was like, yeah, that's what happens. You gotta. Like that's what happens if you're not careful. That's on you.
I think that might have been when B-Fab and Scarlett went through the table.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens.
So yeah,
No. That part was yeah. It's like they were telling about them getting involved despite not being in a match. It's like yeah, I'd expect my girl to jump in too.
oh yeah, because Lashley has Cross in the Hurt Lock and Scarlett just whacks him with a kendo stick.
Yes.
He
Yes.
turns and she's just like, "What are you gonna do?" And then immediately gets hit with a running boot.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, also Paul Ellering came out, which cool to see him at WrestleMania again. That guy's still hanging out. You know, he was. I just do like Wikipedia checks. You know, Paul Ellering was a competitive sled dog racer in Alaska between like his stints in pro wrestling as a manager.
I don't know what you want me to do with this information.
I don't either.
Carnies, man.
We just have to share it now.
Is that do what I did and tell 2 people?
Oh my god.
And then it will grow. And we will find Balto.
Let's see. See, I gave this one. I gave it 2 3/4.
Yeah.
Like it's still on the side that it works. It's fine. It was over in 8 minutes, so there wasn't much to get angry about. But
But it worked in the ways that they didn't mean for it to.
yeah,
Here's the thing. Sometimes I see matches on the live events that are like kind of forgettable. I was like, this could have been on TV. This could have been on TV, but it was still good.
Yeah.
yeah.
To a point where it's like I'm not sad about that. I'm just like, it could have been on TV, but
Yeah.
it's good to see it here.
If you were making this a one night show, this would 100% be something that you'd cut. But
Sure.
when you have 2 nights, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe they've already got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale on SmackDown before.
Yeah.
yeah,
Who was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Bronson Reed won. And I tell you, you go down a list of past winners of that, and it's a little sad to see. It's like Claudio or Cesaro, The Big Show, Madcap Moss. I think Baron Corbin won it one year. It's just like this is what they do when they kind of want to keep you invested, but they don't have any plan for the next 18 months.
I mean, thankfully we are at a point where they'll mention past winners again.
Yes. So, that sort of similar to the Uso match on night 1. This was the closest I kind of came to checking out a little bit.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they're about to warm things back up.
But
And
I also will say it's not fair to actively compare it to that match.
no, it's not. Because, again, I had expectations there and that it fell short of.
Yeah.
But next up, we have LA Knight versus AJ Styles. And this was just a good time.
This is a wonderful match in the sense of the stakes are, I just want to kick your ass. It's just a
Yeah.
good grudge match.
You've just spent months making me annoyed at you, and now it's time for violence.
Speaking like Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles is a dedicated hater. That man flew to Australia simply to hit LA Knight with a chair.
He flew around a world he does not believe curves.
Oh my
just to, like
God.
he was willing to stand upside down to
He
punch
was willing
LA
to
Knight.
hit the ice.
You know,
wall.
he's starting to look like a guy that would believe that. Because, like, I don't know whatever growth hormones he's taken, but it's like his eyebrows are like Super Saiyan 3 right now. Like they're about to meet like the Hooters waitresses like wall test. Like it's like, dude, how did your eyebrows get that far away from your face?
He's definitely he's gotten bigger in a way that I don't want to make any accusations or insinuations, but I'm just sort of like this isn't the build you had when you were like at your physical peak 10 years ago. I'm not sure how you get here.
Yeah, the Vince era dies hard.
Yeah. But hey, LA Knight, when he comes in, ultimate face move, he gives the Slim Jim mobile to a lucky fan.
There you go.
Yeah, comes in with the fob.
He gave them a bunch of car taxes.
Yeah. But so this had the energy that the Usos needed because like LA Knight comes down, does his entrance, AJ's music hits. It was apparently new, but it's kind of I've already forgotten what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I said this to Dogs. I think whoever they have working on entrance themes now is not making anything that's properly recognizable for the people. Because I remember sitting back and watching the Rumble, and the music is like, I don't know what that is. Who is this?
Yeah.
And I was saying, who is this? Not for that person, but because it's like I heard something that that could be easily transferable between a lot. I'll link it back to this. A lot of times when new people were coming up, especially like in post Attitude Era, in that time, what they would first do when they were coming out and starting to get used was they would get a generic theme.
Yeah.
They would get a fairly generic theme, production music style theme, and eventually as their character developed, they get a character-specific theme that is more intricately linked to them.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're all getting the generic production music theme, but
it is.
there is someone specifically crafting these, but they're not making it memorable.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the one area where I think AEW is still head and shoulders above WWE. It's just they've got really good entrance tunes, and WWE just they need to change that up.
Well, it's one thing is that WWE is doing their best to like make their own. So it's, with AEW lately is that they've been able to get like rights to particular songs, which I have no idea how much that is.
Only for particular people, but they do have a dedicated person making the original themes too.
Right, but like we were saying, is that it's hard to find a theme for a wrestler as of late that is super, super iconic and original.
I don't know if it's the same person. I will give it up to whoever made LA Knight's theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA Knight is
Is that there's that. I mean, my number one theme. My number one theme song from somebody is Bobby Roode.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like he
Yes.
has the best entrance song,
Yeah.
and it's an original WWE song.
Yeah.
There's not a lot more other ones like that. So when it comes to this era of AJ Styles, where he's trying to rebrand himself and trying to find a new song, I mean that takes a lot of time. I mean, it took. Let's see. I mean, I don't know why they ever did, but like with Gunther's theme, it was just classical music, and then they
one.
decided to bring in like some bullshit that's like, no, you could have just kept it going and it cost you nothing.
Yeah. That was one of those change for the sake of change things that
Right.
they do a lot.
And it's just like, what can you do when you're starting to throw stuff at the wall?
And I feel like we've kind of gotten off in the match a little bit, which was good. Although it's good in the way that's kind of hard to dig into without just kind of doing beat after beat after beat. Like you said, it was two guys who were just so fed up with each other that they want to beat each other senseless.
Yeah.
Like when AJ's music hits, like he immediately is just tearing his jacket off and charging to the ring, just ready to get this fight started.
Yeah.
And they just kind of they do a very neat trick of keeping an intensity up without the pace necessarily being lightning fast. They've got breather spots, they've got little moments, but it still feels like they keep it moving steadily all the way through to the end when they're just two tired guys trading forearms in the middle of the ring. So I thought, yeah, it was a lot of fun and a lot of just your classic bits. Knight like slamming his head into the commentary table while the crowd chants, yeah. He pulls the covering outside the ring to expose the ground, which was a fun bit.
Yes.
And as you do, he set up his own spot so he gets dropped onto it. But yeah, just fun match. LA Knight, so glad he's getting this run. Every time I see him, I'm just like, this is one of those guys who probably told himself, he's like, I might have had like that. I might be on the downswing here. If I make it to WWE, I don't know if I'm getting past NXT. And now he's, got a prominent spot on WrestleMania.
Yeah, and he was able to get out of the management role that they tried to that Vince tried to pinhole him in. And he is, he's a great talent. Like, I remember watching NXT and him showing up, and he could not have been one of the most hated heels in our household when we were watching it, but he is such a great talent, and I really hope we see even more of him than we do now, because he's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would put honestly, let him take the belt off Logan Paul. I would say if I wanted
Please.
By the way, that brings us to the next thing. Real quick, I'm going to say
jump right into it.
3 3/4 for that match. Really good. Had an old school feel, even though they were doing a lot more modern
Oh yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
Well, the way they approach that and execute it is timeless.
Yes.
That is absolutely old school, and it'll always work when it's done well.
Good old just beat the snot out of him.
Yep.
yeah. We also, I should mention real quick, there was a whole, the introduction of the Hall of Fame members.
Yes.
The only ones I remember are Muhammad Ali's widow, because she gave an awesome belt to The Rock, and Paul Heyman.
The American Express, The Rock's grandmother,
Yeah, Rotunda.
and Wyndham and Rotunda, who was the U.S. Express.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was the look on that dude's face. Like he looks a lot like what you imagine Bray would have looked like if he'd gotten to that age, and that's got to be so painful.
Such a beautiful talent.
Yeah. But so Logan Paul defending the U.S. Championship against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton.
Randy the Viper, Anita Orton. It's that, my wife would not let me live it down if I didn't say that at least once.
This was, first off, I love that they started with paying the spot back, because you see Kevin walking through the halls, and then Sammy's there with his new Intercontinental belt waiting for him, says, "It's your turn now," and sends him out on his way. He goes out, walks across this moment, goes back, gets a cart, drives that down, and then when Orton's music hits, KO carefully puts his arm over, looks behind himself, backs up the ramp, and offers Randy a ride.
Now he takes it.
Now, this is after Logan Paul comes in.
On the Prime
And he
truck.
comes in on the Prime Mobile.
Yes.
And he's just shooting the cannon out of the
With
Prime
Primey,
bottle.
With Primey, yeah.
With Prime, yeah. The little Primey, the Preemie. Anyway. Listen, you do not give those kids the drinks. You do not give them the drink. It kills them.
We haven't mentioned it, but there's been like a bar cart full of Prime drinks next to this Spanish announce table
Yeah.
for every match, and it just keeps getting knocked over. Like it felt like a
Almost
challenge.
maliciously.
Right. But it's just, but you know, it's Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And so he comes into the ring and it's just being an absolute dick as well as he should with a Prime bottle mascot yet again.
And I love the instant angle of this match, at least in terms of how things are going to intersect, which is after the ride to the ring, Randy and Kevin get in the ring, kind of look at each other and like, so we respect each other and we hate him, so let's beat the shit out of him.
Yes.
And Logan tries to get ahead of that by jumping out of the ring, but Orton and KO just chase him outside and start beating the crap out of him. He actually tries to do all your classic, like, turn them against each other moves. At one point, he shoves Kevin, and Kevin hits Randy, and there's just a pause, and Randy goes, "You hit me," and KO goes, "He pushed me." "He pushed you?" "Yeah, he pushed me."
Yeah, a nice little subversion, because normally that would be like, oh, you hit me, and then they would just start fighting. It was like, oh, he shoved you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they just immediately go back to beating
He's
that
like,
ball.
that tracks. Let's
But then it comes to the moment where who gets to pin Logan.
And
That we
then
get that, like, oh, we didn't discuss this part.
And then they look at each other and they're like, okay, so now we start.
Yeah.
Well, so Orton tells him, he's like, "Oh, you can go first." And Kevin's like, "Okay, really?" Yeah. And Orton walks by him and immediately tries to pull him into an RKO. Kevin pushes him away, and he doesn't even look angry. He's just sort of like, "Yeah, that's what I figured was going to
Because
happen."
they know they're both the same type of guy
Yeah.
who will, like, if they will do everything they can to win. No, and it's like, okay, we knew this moment was going to happen. Now we
Right,
fight.
But they're just kind of like, whoa, hold on. We still got 20 minutes.
But you just love seeing that genre savviness in this match. It's just
Yeah.
two guys who both have been doing this long enough, and they're like, "We're going to start fighting now." Yeah, I think this is the time.
And with those experiences, you got to admit, Logan is a natural heel. He is just, and unfortunately for all of us, he's very talented as a wrestler. He's good. He is objectively good.
I will lay this on the table right now. He is good at this.
He is, and it's
He
like
is.
what makes it worse is knowing what we know. If you grew up with the internet within the last 20 years, you know who the Paul brothers are.
Yeah, and
you know
he is
the
exactly-
context of them.
He is exactly the kind of scumbag who is going to go far in this industry.
Exactly. Which, if he's gonna stick it out as a heel, yeah, settle in, dude. You're gonna be a heel for a while.
I will just never like him because I know what kind of person he is, and he has never attempted to change that.
No one is asking you to do that.
to their credit, it does not seem like they're ever going to try to book him as like as the face in anything.
It's like that's not gonna happen.
But the fact is, that's going to inherently kind of ruin any match I watch with him in it.
That's
I
fair.
loved every bit of this. That
Yeah.
was not Logan Paul. Even as talented as he is, as good as he is, the things that popped me in this match were Kevin and Randy.
Yeah. And look, they've got a Saudi show coming up, and Saudi Arabia loves having Logan Paul.
You're right.
He's-
They should kill him.
Well, I wouldn't suggest that, but I'm certainly not going to advocate
I will
against it.
demand it.
Lord willing.
But yeah, so from
Throw
there,
his brother in there with him.
from there on, it's a good triple threat. Like, you know, a lot of moving in and out. They work their spots very nicely. They don't have. There's no point where one of the contestants has to be, or contenders has to be out for too long. So it's one guy moves in, one
Yeah.
guy goes out. They keep it flowing very smoothly. The Prime bottle gets involved at some point, and in kind of a weird bit removes like a plastic covering over where the suit person's face is.
Because you had to know it is a Twitch streamer named I Show Speed.
Yeah, which is also a very complicated heel of a person.
I've already deleted the name you just said from my
Except
memory.
just as a, and just not even, I can't even say heel. He's just a bad person.
He is. So it's like if for people that don't know who he is, I have been made aware of him because I used to be, or I've kind of fell out of it recently, but like with H3H3, so
Yeah.
like the Kleins,
Yeah.
they have their finger on the pulse of like internet culture and like who's the who and who do you need to know, who do you wish we didn't need to know. And this guy was very notorious for doing it was reaction videos at first, right?
I think so.
And that became a whole discussion about like monetization. It's like if you're just reacting to my work, then why don't you ask me, or I get a cut of like whatever you're making.
That's a common thing with the reaction video stuff, where it's like they will just grab stuff and react to it and never credit people who are doing this, and they monetize it because they can pump these videos out quick.
Exactly. And of course we are but one side of the coin, but the fact is that this made this kid very, very famous. And just the fact that he is within the radar of Logan Paul means that, hey, you want to take an RKO from Randy Orton and you want to be on live TV at WrestleMania, then you're going to do this spot.
Orton gives him an RKO. He first yanks him out of the Prime costume, gives him an RKO on the commentary table. I did not see him moving again after that, so I can only assume and hope that he died.
He didn't.
We hope. But
So it eventually moves on. Again, fun match, but I think my favorite part was early on when you just had Orton and KO just teaming up to wail on Paul.
It was two gentleman villains versus an asshole.
Yeah, but Paul retains.
Yeah.
And I think it's leading up to the alliance with
It's gonna lead
Waller
to,
and Theory.
Sorry, yeah, it's gonna lead to something, especially because they very smartly are also like he wins and it's decisive, but it's always shenanigans.
Yeah. I think even down to the very end, like Orton counters a pop-up powerbomb into an RKO, which involves him contorting his body in midair in a way that's frankly insane for a guy in his mid-40s. And then immediately Paul tries to throw him out of the ring. Orton actually reverses that, throws Paul out, but Paul manages, so it's even down to the end. It's Orton being smart about how this works. It's just Paul manages to get one up on him, hits a frog splash, pins KO, and yeah, like you said, Logan Paul retains and is still your United States champion.
It's not mine. I didn't vote for him.
Through gritted teeth, gave this 4 1/4 because it was a really entertaining match.
It was.
And yeah, I cannot wait for him to lose, but I don't hate what he does.
But that
in the ring.
I mean, that's what makes a good heel. You love to hate him because it's all you can do.
I don't love to hate him.
Yeah, no, I think I just hate him.
I hate the fact that he's talented and he's there.
It makes me resent him more.
Yeah, you're watching him.
All right, so next up, let's see. We're coming to our final 2 matches. We have the WWE Women's Championship of Io Sky defending against Bayley.
From Cairo, Egypt.
Yeah, that was a very cool and also really weird entrance where Bayley has
Was it meant to reference the Katy Perry video?
Was that it? Okay.
I don't know. No, I'm guessing. I have no answers.
Because
I think it was just because I think she's done the Egyptian aesthetic before.
Well, she's
I think
from
it was like 2 WrestleManias ago.
The only thing, the closest I come to remembering that is there was a pyramid-themed entrance, but it was for Rey and Dominic Mysterio, and it was Aztec pyramids because they entered from a magic portal, which is the reason I remember it. But yeah, it's a little so Bayley has kind of a Amon-Ra sort of look where she's got wings coming out the back.
Yeah.
There are guys in sort of set masks carrying her on their shoulders. It looks cool. I was like, is this her gimmick now? Is this a thing?
I think it might be, kind of like a Seth Rollins moment where it's just it's a look. I want to do this. Again, this could be leading to babyface Bayley, so maybe this is a part of that aesthetic. Who knows?
Well, it definitely is, but I just think it's WrestleMania, and I want a WrestleMania.
Oh,
entrance.
yeah.
So I think that's most of it overall.
Every match needs to have at least one crazy live entrance.
Yes.
So, again, it's weird to find out that when I was looking into this is Bayley's first ever singles match at WrestleMania. She's had fatal 4-ways, elimination matches. She was in a battle royal. She's defended tag titles. She's never had a one-on-one match, and she's very good. I think that's just kind of generally understood that Bayley, she's a ring general, and it's really fun to just let her and someone like Io Sky, who is one of the best aerial performers in the women's division.
Agreed.
Just go at it for a while. So even when they were announcing this, I was like, okay, with Rhea and Becky, you've got star power. You've got two people where it's just going to be like these are like a clash of the titans. And Bayley and Io is just going to be like rock solid meat and potatoes match. And that's what we ended up seeing. Oh, man. And also just Io randomly getting up and like screaming with triumphant fury every 45 seconds was fun.
It was just a fun match.
Yeah. There was a part of me who was like, okay, because at this point I was tracking in the evening and I was like, the only champion who has retained their title so far has been Rhea on night 1 and then Logan Paul on 2. And I never think we're going to see a complete turnover. I'm sure there's been probably a pay-per-view in company history where you've had every title change hands, but it's not common.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of tracking at this point, and since like I'm pretty sure Roman's going to lose, is Io going to hold on to it? But no, pleasantly enough, we get to the end. And
you want to be careful not Vizini yourself here.
That is how I approach any like hypothetical booking.
I mean, again, it's
because
just
I
kinda
guarantee
like that.
you might be thinking harder about this than the people who booked it.
I mean, again, it's kind of we're in this era of this Vinceless era, so we're kind of like shaking off, kind of like this can actually be fun and unpredictable, and pleasantly unpredictable.
True.
Yeah. And then sometimes it can just be that this is the conclusion of, Bayley from coming back with damage control and turning back to a face as she was rejected from her own group. I appreciate that we didn't see Asuka or Kairi or Dakota. That there was no interference. It really was just a clean match.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't mention it, but if damage control lost, they were barred from ringside.
Oh.
Of course.
I'm lying.
That's how night 1 tags all worked. But I love watching Io work. She's just got one of the coolest moonsaults. There's the right in front of the go home. There's a great bit where she does like a standing moonsault to Bayley, runs to the corner, does a moonsault off like the lowest turnbuckle, runs back out to the top, does another one, and you can tell she's going back to do the middle one.
No, this is the spot you're talking about. If I'm thinking of, she did standing moonsault, second rope moonsault, and then she climbed to the top for the third one.
It was just like she was checking off all the boxes to put this one away.
If Bayley hadn't gotten her legs up, this would have gone into the rafters.
Yeah.
Also, it's not a real EO match unless there's a trash can involved.
Yeah. If the trash can had been there, then obviously Bayley wouldn't have had a chance. That was her that she was facing EO alone made it possible. But yeah, she does eventually do her elbow drop. They actually, I was a little disappointed with the first effort, but the story had been that Io was working Bayley's legs. So when she went up, she couldn't get any elevation. It was just sort of her falling with her elbow first. Second time she goes up, managed to get some elevation, does that classic like hook the arm, Macho Man, drop the elbow. Does I think it's called the Rose Plant is sort of her finisher. It's like a face crusher move.
Whatever it was, Io sold it amazingly.
She turns her body.
She always does.
She flopped like a cartoon character.
Yeah, she turns herself like diagonal to the ring and then just flips over to the side. It
Pretty
was a
sneaky,
great
Bayley.
sell. Yeah, Bayley pins her, and we have a new WWE Women's Champion. And let's see, that was for me.
Winds of changing.
Yeah, I gave that a 4. Like
Yeah.
same with Rhea and Becky. It was just great showcase. They look like stars, and it's great to see Bayley back as a face and holding a world title. So
It's exciting to see where this is going to go.
all right, so we have been talking for a while, and we have just now gotten to the main event of Night 2 of WrestleMania.
Boy. Oh, man.
Finishing the story, it is Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. Let me just, before we start anything else, I'm going to ask both of y'all, knowing what we know now, do you think Cody should have won at 39?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't
Yes.
know.
A satisfying conclusion doesn't make up for the pain that it took to get there.
I agree with you, Chris, but I am less sure than I would have been if you'd asked me 48 hours ago. I still think there's a way to make this work. Cody wins the title. You have the bloodline fracturing. Roman comes back at SummerSlam or Crown Jewel. And then you've got the story of the bloodline bringing out The Rock, and that's the big guns. And that gets us back here already. But man, this felt like such a triumphant, like such a crescendo to everything.
It did. It just felt it was that end game moment because this was really Had it not been for the fans, this would not have happened.
They managed to avoid a lot of mistakes I was kind of terrified of as they were building up like more, the bloodline rules, The Rock is back. And I was like, this isn't going to be Cody's moment or even Roman's moment. It's going to be the two of them in the middle of this maelstrom of other run-ins and other cameos. And what they managed very neatly was pretty much everybody who interfered on Cody's side only did it to neutralize somebody else.
Yes.
So like Jay runs in to take out Jimmy. John Cena runs in to take out Solo Sikoa. The Undertaker shows up, and I gotta feel like he was not their first call for this because he doesn't even show up in dead man garb. He's wearing like a hoodie and a beanie.
Yeah, I think he just came over from his one-man show he was doing.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful moment, and then with every person that comes in to take out that particular member, it is relative to their previous matches. So with Jay and Jimmy, you just have to look at night one, and then with John Cena and Solo Sikoa, this, a few pay-per-views before, and then Seth comes out as dressed as he was in the Shield, and then takes the same chair spot that he gave Roman.
Yes, and that's the point that I was going to make from earlier. Is like a lot of people dogged him on the internet and say, "Oh, he came out just to get hit by Roman." It's like, and then other people also pointed out, like I pointed out, like we noticed when we were watching it, is like, yeah, The Rock couldn't tell where he was coming from. Roman knew where he was coming from and hit him, and then he knew that between hitting a decisive blow on Cody and having his chance to do to Seth what Seth did to him, he took that. Because he not only did that, he threw the chair away afterward.
And this is subtle by the standards of professional wrestling, but a shield is not an attacking weapon. A shield is something that gets hit to protect something else.
Exactly.
And that's what Seth had said to Cody all that those months back. I'll be your shield at this match. And yeah, even all those moments just came together, and what it all boils down to. And look, this is a Roman Reigns match. There's a lot of the stomping and the staring. You can't really break this down blow by blow, but it's the best kind of Roman Reigns match, and I mean that in a much, much less backhanded way than I would have 2 or 3 years ago. And it comes down to Cody just getting a fair shot. Like, all the bloodline stuff is neutralized, so Cody can just face this guy in the ring, have his moment, hit the crossroads, and finally pin Roman Reigns.
It's just beautiful, It just felt like the weight off your shoulders, just like, we're done. This is over. The story is finished. Now where do we go?
And it feels good on every level. It's the story that they've been telling since Cody came back. It's also, people have been following Cody since, leaving WWE, going through NWA in Japan, coming back through AEW. Everything he's done to get here and prove that he is the star that he's always believed himself to be, even if WWE creative wouldn't accept it. AEW, a lot of the fans wouldn't accept it, but he kept betting on himself, and he's here. And oh my gosh, everybody was crying when he did that. Like, somebody showed, there's a clip of Samantha Irvin getting up to announce him as the winner, and she is just trying not to sob when she puts the microphone to her mouth.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It's over. I'm glad it happened, but they have robbed me of the satisfaction of it feeling good, ultimately, as I said many months ago.
Fair. I still think Cody winning last year would have been the right call, but once that decision got made, this was like, and they even managed to avoid like the classic Vince mistake when The Rock came back in January. Like, they made a terrible decision in how to handle that, but they pivoted back and they got it home.
Yeah.
So
good on them. Good on them. They're actually listening to the fans now.
We can do different things now. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would do this for a Roman Reigns match, but I gave this 4.5 because this is like the peak of what WWE does that no other company in the world can do, of just creating these titans and a fantastic story and letting them come together in this way that feels like more than just two dudes hitting each other.
Agreed.
I just hope we haven't reset the clock to when they squander this goodwill again.
again, we're in a new territory, so it's going to be interesting to see.
One of the great trolls on wrestling on the roster, Dijak from NXT, got on and was just like, I'm screenshotting all y'all cheering for Cody now so that when you're all booing him 2 years from now, I can rub it in your faces. And it's just like, that'll probably happen. But for right now, it's a good moment.
It's a good moment. It's a good show.
And again, we've been talking for a while, but I'm just going to say, apart from just liking the matches and liking where it came, I feel good about where WWE is.
Me too.
I like all the champions. I like the feuds they're setting up. I'm excited to there's nobody holding a belt right now, with the exception of Logan Paul, where I'm not excited to see who they face next.
It's nice to care again.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So, wow, we are coming up on 2 hours. So I'm just going to really quickly just note that I'm going to give this one, the rating of the main event reflects the rating of the entire card, night 1, night 2. I give this 4.5 out of 5. It is the best WWE show I have seen since I started watching again. And it makes me feel very good about where the product is and what Triple H Levesque is going to be doing going forward.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Like we're in a very exciting time. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go, especially for Cody, and especially I want to see what they're going to do with Cameron Grimes if we ever see him again.
Oh yeah. All right, so I think we're going to just go ahead and move it into the go home here with the time. So David, do you have anything you want to talk about coming up for Long Walk Productions?
Oh, we'll be getting back to Long Walk Talk soon. I know I say that literally every podcast we do, but as you mentioned at the beginning, we got 4 walls up of our recording booth. That's been a work in progress with our friend Charles Holmes since January. Been working on and off. I'm not a carpenter, but he is, so I'm kind of working around his schedule. So we got 4 walls, but no roof. So eventually we will have a roof, we'll have soundproofing, and you won't hear those loud-ass trucks driving by. But in the meantime, Ted, if people want to follow you online and see your original artwork that you're very fucking good at, where can they follow you on social media?
So I only really use Instagram. So you could just find me at Ted, and it's Patterson without the vowels. So PTTRSN. That's just how it came out. So Ted and Patterson without the vowels. Yeah, I do my own original art. You could take a look. I've got plugs to where you can buy them as coffee mugs and whatever.
And you should. He's extremely talented.
I am wearing a shirt with one of your designs right now.
Yes. If you
oh shit, so am I.
Yeah, y'all.
Robert and I are matching tonight.
Well,
that's weird.
one of you's gonna have to change.
Yeah.
All right.
No, don't. Just
Chris, if people want to follow you on social media, where can they do that at?
I thought you said we weren't allowed to mention Twitter anymore.
Robert, if people want to follow you, oh wait, we don't promote Twitter on this network.
The pain it causes me appeals to the masochist. It's not the right pain that I get from TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. So I
we're not the people to talk about this with.
Yeah, no. If you want to follow me online, you can do that on Instagram at DB Hensley. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on the Long Walk Podcast Network, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
You know who they need to induct into the Hall of Fame? The Trashman.
He was in Philly and we didn't get the Warbirds.
It's a garbage opinion.
Folks, I'm just going to say, you got out of bed this morning, your job didn't feel great, you didn't get to see the people you love, well, guess what? It's a long day and you've always got time to finish that story. I'm Robert Brafford, that's been Chris Barnes and Ted Patterson, and you've been listening to This Is a Work.
I knew this shit was real.
Goodbye!